Journalistic genocide, I'll report, you decide. Started with a hoax and a mighty oak.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. Dreams from My Real Father is a stunning political documentary by a truly gifted filmmaker. Once you digest the vast amount of information revealed in this meticulously researched on the life of America's 44th president, you realize at long last every single unanswered question you ever had about Obama has been answered systematically, factually, and comprehensively. The filmmaker is Joel Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert is joining us for the first half hour of the program. Welcome to the program, sir.
Today.
Joel, I actually watched your video Saturday evening. And I've also seen Dinesh D'Souza's video. Both of you tend to go in similar directions with the one exception. You make it clear that Barack Obama's father is Frank Marshall Davis, so your video kind of makes the birther group a little uncomfortable, to say the least.
Well, what they refer to as the birther group was just a smear against people who asked the question. Those who wanted to know, why doesn't Obama release his records, his birth certificate, why does he hide so much of his past? So this, my film, Dreams from My Real Father, is based on the research that proves that the Kenyan Obama was simply a sham marriage at the time to cover up an illicit affair between Obama's mother and a member of the Communist Party USA, a Soviet agent and propagandist named Frank Marshall Davis, who went from Chicago, where he joined the Communist Party in the 30s, to Hawaii to help organize the labor unions to try to expel U.S. forces from Hawaii on behalf of the Soviet Union. Obama admits to being raised by Frank Marshall Davis and showed up at Occidental College at age 18, admittedly as a committed Marxist, to study with the Marxist professors. So he had an indoctrination from Frank Marshall Davis, who raised him from age 9. And the Kenyan, it was a sham marriage. We have all the evidence. Obama's story of his early childhood, that when he was 3 years old, his father went to Harvard and broke up the loving, improbable love family, is completely false. Obama's mother took him to the University of Washington in Seattle. We have the transcripts where she was in college while the Kenyan remained in Hawaii. So that being a sham marriage, I discovered intimate photos of Davis and Obama's mother, and the entire timeline of the film shows you that Obama, his entire life, has been pursuing the dreams from his real father, who was a Communist Party propagandist. This is a known phenomenon on the radical left, known as red diaper babies. This means the children of Communist Party USA members. All the leaders of the Marxist terrorist groups, the Weather Underground, SDS, their parents were also Communist Party USA members, just like David Axelrod, also red diaper baby. His mother was a communist journalist, just like Obama's father was a communist journalist.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Why is it, do you think, and I'm going to get back to this birther thing just for a minute after this, and you'll understand why. Why is it that you think that people, the mainstream media, and just the vast majority of America refuses to look at these questions and search for real answers? Why do you think for the last 4+ years we've had people chasing the elusive birth certificate, and making all of these outrageous claims about having birth certificates from Kenya, etc.? Do you think that that was an organized effort to actually keep people like yourself from discovering the truth about Barack Obama?
Yes, Obama engaged in a campaign of misdirection for 5 or 6 years to point people to a Kenyan father. He wrote the book, Dreams from My Father. He went to Kenya a couple of times, and he introduced himself and sold himself to America as this multicultural ideal. His father was a goat herder from Kenya, therefore he would bring people together, and he stood above politics. So voters rely on the media they think that they're going to check things out. So they assumed that Obama was a nice man with this inspiring family story. So they were hoodwinked by Obama. Voters do have good common sense. Americans have good common sense, but they weren't exposed to the truth. They went with the misdirection that Obama worked very hard to create. And the reality is that Obama has a deeply disturbing family background, a disturbing history, and a disturbing agenda, a disturbing political foundation in Marxism that he intentionally hid so that voters would not know the real agenda he has for America. Now, finally, his agenda is coming out when you hear him talk about the rich don't pay their fair share, even though you could just Google it and see that there is a tax code that the rich pay a lot more and so on. He talks about how the top 1% are oppressing the 99%. If you're successful in your business, you didn't build it. You built it on the backs of the poor. This is the classic Marxist worldview and rhetoric that Obama would have gotten from his father. Frank Marshall Davis was indoctrinated in the Communist Party in the 30s. The Chicago Communists were recruiting journalists so they could help spread Soviet propaganda in American public opinion. And this is only 15 years after the Bolshevik Revolution. And this is the type of Marxism that Obama sees. There's an evil straw man who's controlling and using everybody's wealth and work to only benefit themselves. He calls it the breathtaking greed of a few people. So this whole Marxist ideology does not fit the American reality. It's not true. It's a big lie. It was a lie in Europe, and it failed in Europe. It failed in the Soviet Union. Marxism doesn't work. It has never worked. And all it will do is lead to economic ruin and physical destruction. That's the history of every society that has adopted the Marxist model.
After I saw Dinish's 2016, and then, like I said, I actually watched yours Saturday evening, the similarities are striking. One similarity that I found from both films is almost, I kind of take it as this old taboo that both filmmakers shy away from some parts of Obama's past simply because it might seem to be a little tainting or what's normally in the mainstream media. The minute you bring sex into something, it kind of takes away from the body of the work. Is that the reason that your film avoided the sexual questions as far as Frank Marshall Davis and Obama were concerned?
My film does not hold anything back. It deals with all the evidence that we found. For example, we found 30 photos of Obama's mother in various compromising positions, nude photos that Obama's father took of her. He was a pornographer and a nude photographer, and he sold those photos to men's magazines. We do show those photos, but we cover up the appropriate parts to be respectful. And the only reason for that is to demonstrate that there is a intimate relationship there was between Davis and Obama's mother, and then she brings him back from Indonesia when he's 9 years old and goes back to Indonesia, and he is raised by Davis, by Obama's own admission, for 10 years. So my film doesn't shy away from anything. I give the whole truth and get right into it in a chronology that makes the whole thing understandable. The difference between my film and 2016 is that film accepts the official story of Obama that the Kenyan was his father, and then he uses the concept of anti-colonialism to explain his behavior in office. Well, anti-colonialism is a very small part of Marxism, and it was clear that Obama had a Marxist ideology already at age 18, and all the evidence points to an indoctrination by a very strong-willed communist propagandist who was his father, Frank Marshall Davis. It's a shocking indictment of American journalism and journalists that in the information age, in the land of the First Amendment, the media and the concept of journalism has completely collapsed. They've put themselves, not everyone, but most of them, as simply propagandists for the Democratic Party.
Okay. And just so that I clarify something, my reference was to a poem that Obama wrote that has been reported to be basically an affirmation of a relationship that was intimate between him and Frank Marshall Davis. I unfortunately found the fact that both movies failed to address that part of Frank Marshall Davis and Obama's relationship a little confusing for me. I will tell you, however, that I gave a copy of your video to a neighbor who, her husband came over the next day and asked me never to give him another video because this woman watched this video and she literally cried all night long. She could not get to sleep because she said that what she saw in your video is exactly what she is afraid this country is heading towards.
Well, it's true that my film is very powerful. When people see it, they realize America has been had, and a false narrative was put forward by Obama and the Democrats, claiming he was the son of this goat herder, when in fact he has an underlying agenda which is irreconcilable with American values, which he did not explain. He just said he believed in change. Nobody knew what that meant. They just thought it meant electing the Democrats instead of the Republicans. But for the socialists and the Marxists, change means the end of capitalism, the end of free markets, and imposing a one-party system like they have in Chicago, a one-party state. They're putting everybody on welfare, not welfare, but food stamps and free health care and free phones and a dependent society, so those people will continue to vote in the Democrats. So all of this is about maintaining a permanent hold on power, and that is the Marxist system, and that's what Obama learned, and that's what the entire rat's nest of Marxists from Chicago that came to the White House is seeking to accomplish.
The amount of information in this film, the amount of research that you did, the amount of footage that you've pulled together and documents you've pulled together. How did you manage to do that? One, expense-wise. Two, did you come up against any resistance whatsoever in attempting to get this information? And why were you capable of doing all this at the same time that others kept arguing that he wasn't who he was, but yet all they could do is just argue on straw? They couldn't come up with anything, and yet you've got this.
Well, I believe it's because I asked the right question. The question was not, where's the birth certificate? The question was, who is the real father? Once I asked the right question, I just looked in that area. Every time I looked, I found more and more and more evidence. I talked to Frank Marshall Davis's friends, Obama's classmates. I went to Hawaii twice, which is twice as often as all the mainstream media put together. I met with retired Honolulu Police Department detectives. I got material from research archives, and all the information was there. It's just the misdirection was so strong by Obama. He misdirected, misrepresented, minimized, and outright lied about everything about his past, and there was no media to follow up. No one even would ask him a question. No one would even bother. They just assumed that everything he said they would take at face value. So it was a quite shocking experience for me to learn all this information and wonder why these organizations with hundreds of reporters and multi-million-dollar budgets would not have done this job already. It's a shocking thing to realize the complete collapse of the role of the media in America, which should be to keep the politicians honest and serve that role as public trustees for the public. And instead, the media has redefined themselves as simply a propaganda arm of the Democratic Socialist Party.
The sheer amount of information that you yourself pulled together and put in this documentary raises some questions for me. On some of the other ones, I understand that you feel that Obama did this misinformation campaign as far as the birth certificate, and this is why I brought up the birther issue, because I know that one of the biggest voices on the birth certificate matter, Orly Tates, recently told a fellow friend of mine that she didn't like your film because it basically undercuts her argument that he wasn't born in Hawaii, which I can understand that. I've watched this film, and if your information is to be correct and is to be taken as factual, which I believe it is, then the birth certificate issue is a moot issue at this point.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
But what I was going to say is, you have some who supposedly were supposed to be, determined and dedicated and committed to getting the truth about Barack Obama. You've got Joseph Farrer, WorldNet Daily, Jerome Corsi, Jerry Corsi's a personal friend, who has never come up with half as much documentation and information as you have in this film.
Well, those are all good researchers, and they ask the questions, and they laid the groundwork for my research, no doubt.
Okay.
And Dr. Corsi is a brilliant researcher and scholar, and he's a relentless example of a voice that wants to know the truth and asks the questions. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, and he has done a great job covering my film in WorldNet Daily, and I appreciate that. And certainly, what I'm trying to communicate, some news organizations have tried to dismiss the film. MSNBC trashed the film about 2 weeks ago. It was kind of like a badge of honor, I guess.
I was just fixing to say, you should have been expecting that one.
Yeah, no problem. But the point which people need to understand is, what is Marxist ideology? Obama, people don't understand that when his new theory now is to tell people he wants to help the middle class. I want to help middle-class families, middle class. Well, socialist economies don't have a middle class. They have one big lower class with political elites that control the wealth. All of Obama's policies in reality are a war against the middle class. The socialists and communists hate the middle class. They cling to their guns and religion, as Obama says. They believe that is the source that they want to eliminate. So Obama simply bamboozled a gullible middle-class America with this laughable illusion that he was the son of a goat herder who would bring people together. But it really is a deadly Marxist agenda. They are trying to use health care. It's simply a socialist tool to eliminate the classes. That's why for Obama, long waits and poor quality doesn't matter.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah, let me finish one more thing. The plan is to give away health care of the middle class to poor and illegals. Their plan in the next term is to tax and regulate middle-class employers out of business, and the middle class's retirement savings will evaporate into a bankrupt socialist state. That will destroy the middle class. It will disappear, and America will have one big lower class with Obama and his elites running the government and controlling the wealth.
But the question comes to mind is, how is Obama successfully convincing people to the contrary? And what is it going to take for people to see where this country will be going, most certainly with a second Obama term between now and November 6th? Because I'm not talking about the polls done by the marginal or biased media. I'm talking about just from talking to voters here in Central Florida alone.
Yeah.
Romney has not gotten people excited, and you just don't see these large numbers of people running away from Obama. In fact, the support level here in Central Florida seems to be even more galvanized in favor of Obama. How does that change between now and the 6th?
Well, 2 points. First of all, Americans need information to make informed decisions. It's almost impossible if a large body of the information is missing. So we keep going back to the fact that journalism is no longer credible in America. All people think about CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. These are not journalistic shows. It's not news. They're just reality shows that are based on current events. So absent real information, it is very difficult, and that's why I have a program to bypass the media. You may have seen that we sent 1.2 million DVDs direct to households of my film in Ohio that just arrived in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
I can also tell you for the first time, even on your show, it hasn't been announced yet, but we are sending 1.5 million DVDs throughout the state of Florida. They're shipping starting today. So there's going to be a different picture that's going to go throughout Florida. We're going to other states, Colorado, Illinois, Iowa, I think New York also. We're just going to keep sending these out state by state, million by million, to force the media, these reality shows they call media, to cover the content of my film. They should all have put 3 or 4 reporters on it already, and they need to report to the public that there is a deadly Marxist agenda that Obama and his gang are imposing upon middle-class America that is intended to eliminate the middle class, not to build it up.
All right. Joel, I know that Sandy said you could only stay for the first half hour. We're coming up on the end of that. What I want to ask you real quick, tell our listeners where they can go to access the film or at least get a copy of it. I've asked Sandy to send us some banners to put up on our website that would link to wherever you want them to link to. As soon as we get them, we'll do that.
Okay.
First, where do they go to get more information on the film?
Okay, first of all, I'm happy to stay another half hour or an hour.
Oh, okay.
Come on every day. That's no problem.
Well, in that case, let's hold off on that because I bypassed the first commercial break because it was my understanding you couldn't stay on. But now that I know you can stay on, let's hold up. Let's go to this commercial break. And when we come back from this break, we'll talk more because I will do whatever I can to help you get this video out to the voting public.
All right. Well, it's obamasrealfather.com, the website. You can buy the DVD, see the trailer, and I'm staying on here on the show.
All right, great. And you're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We're speaking with Joel Gilbert, director and filmmaker of Dreams from My Real Father. And we'll be back after these brief messages.
I'm American made. I was born in America, made in the USA. I'm American made. I was born in America, made in the USA.
I remember Bob Ross painting happy little pictures. Phyllis Riddle was a permanent fixture. Daydreaming through the science class lectures. My first kiss behind the high school bleachers. My mom's meatballs, my grandma's sauce, and Vicky's cookies, chocolate Mars. Thor, dental hygiene's lost. Little Duncan Hines can make a chocolate to eat dental floors. California, seeing the sights, getting drunk, looking up at the Napa Valley moonshine, gazing at the stars in the Hollywood nights. If the stars were by my side, I heard Lady Liberty lost her crown. As I was searching for my country at the lost and found, fell in love at first sight, messing around. He had the cutest little nose against the window at the door he found.
I'm American made.
When disasters happen, and they will, grocery store and supermarket shelves will go empty fast. People who are left without food will be forced to rely on the government. Don't let that happen to you and your family. My friends at BuyEmergencyFoods.com offer the best, most convenient emergency food available. Legacy Foods from BuyEmergencyFoods.com are the best and highest quality ready-made food products available in today's marketplace. Let BuyEmergencyFoods.com give you and yours delicious, nutrition-rich, ready-made, ready-to-eat meals pre-packaged for freshness in individual nitrogen-flushed Mylar pouches. BuyEmergencyFoods.com is constantly increasing its nutritional standards and ingredients. No other company comes close, and that's why I personally use and endorse these wonderful ready-made meals. Go to BuyEmergencyFoods.com/rents for special discounts for the listeners of this program. Order today and get free shipping on every item. BuyEmergencyFoods.com/rents. American Masters Painting, a family-owned and operated business beautifying homes in Northern Virginia for over 30 years. American Masters craftsmen serve all of your painting, staining, and wood refinishing needs. American Masters not only guarantees to deliver satisfying results, they also promise a positive, rewarding, and personalized experience to your complete satisfaction. American Masters Painting is recognized for its flawless expertise in all custom interior and exterior projects. For a free and timely estimate, contact American Masters Painting toll-free at 888-760-7760 or visit AmericanMastersPainting.com. And remember, when you're thinking American Masters Painting, you're thinking one family serving another, one project at a time. American Masters Painting is a proud sponsor of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, coast to coast on the Galaxy 19 KU band satellite, nationwide and worldwide on the Internet, and of course, on rents.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Rents. Royal Raymond Rife was without question the most gifted medical scientific genius of our age. He discovered that most disease-related microbes die quickly when exposed to their own specialized resonant radio frequencies. The BCX 411 Rife-type frequency instrument has received the highest praise on several continents for its precision, simplicity of operation, and successful research experiment. The BCX, with its comprehensive manual, allows you to select the frequencies you wish to experiment with for the length of time you want to run them. The BCX handheld plasma ray tubes and RF radio carrier wave, like Rifuse, are the absolute state-of-the-art in Rife frequency research. For full information and pictures, take the New Earth link at the top of Rense.com. Settle for nothing but the best in Rife research with the BCX 411. Again, just take the New Earth link at the top left corner of Rense.com.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men. You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men. You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men.
And we are back, and we are speaking with Joel Gilbert, filmmaker and director of Dreams from My Real Father. And Joel, before going to the commercial, I asked you point blank, how is the American public going to get to understand and see exactly where Barack Obama came from and where he's trying to take this country? How are we going to get your video out to a massive number of people before Election Day? Because the bottom line is right now, people still line up behind this guy thinking that he is the second coming of Christ. Joel? Joel? All right, it looks like I may have lost... It looks like I may have lost Joel, guys, and for that I apologize. Yep, we did lose him. If we can get him back on the phone, we will. In the meantime, I strongly suggest that people go to obamasrealfather.com and try to get as much information on getting this DVD. It's a video that I strongly advise people to watch. I want to explain why I brought up the question as far as some involved in the birth certificate question have publicly said, okay, Joel, you back online?
Yeah, I could hear you the whole time, and I did hear your question. And I think that we're trying very hard on our end to force the media to cover the story, and they are starting to cover it. The Daily Beast covered it, the Daily Mail, NPR. We're forcing them to cover it. When we put out the $1.25 million to Ohio, they got very nervous and started reporting on it. So with the $1.5 million going to Florida, that's going to force them to cover it even more and start to cover the substance of the film. So we're trying hard on our end, and we want people to know who they're voting for. It's not fair to the American public that Obama does not come clean as to his real personal background and political foundation. He needs to tell the public, he has to say the Kenyan goat herder story was not true. And in fact, about a week ago, he told a crowd, I was born in Hawaii to a single mother. Now, that is different from his previous stories that he had a family that broke up when he was 3 years old. So he's starting to come clean, but he has to come completely clean and say, my father was a Communist Party propagandist who indoctrinated me with a Marxist political ideology. He was a former Soviet agent, and I learned my Marxism from him, and this has been my entire life history. He needs to be elected on his merits, not on a fairy tale.
Now, you and I both know that given David Axelrod's influence here and Barack Obama's own self-promotion, that's not going to happen between now and November 6th. It's getting more and more difficult, in all honesty, to even get someone, say, in the line of WorldNet Daily or anyone else, to even be in the position to ask Barack Obama a direct question anymore.
Well, yeah, I would say that these are dangerous times. We don't have a media or journalists to hold any politicians to the standards of truth and honesty. So it is a dangerous time when a demagogue can rise up and lead the country in a direction which is against its own interests. People have heard of Alex de Tocqueville, was a French writer who traveled America in 1851. He traveled throughout America. I think it was 1831. And this French historian wrote a book called Democracy in America. And he said that democracy would always be in grave danger because if the wrong person took power in Washington, he could lead the country to ruin. And I think these are the dangerous times we are in because people just don't know what's really going on. I think my film, Dreams from My Real Father, is the best work yet to explain to people that Obama comes from a communist background. His real father was Frank Marshall Davis. And once people realize that the Kenyan father was just a fairy tale to cover up this political agenda, they will realize that they've been had. And I know that good people don't like it when they've been lied to.
All right. Let me ask you something. And somebody keeps this is a question I continue to see thrown out there. And the question is, well, how could someone, Obama is such a well-educated, classy guy, how could you even assume that Obama would associate with such riffraff in his life? And then someone posed this question to me. Bernadine Dorn, Bill Ayers' wife, part of the Weather Underground. Despite all of her history and her violent past, she became an employee of one of Chicago's largest and most powerful and influential law firms in Chicago politics, Sidley Austin. How do you explain that? How do you answer the question when people say, well, how can you say this about this guy? Him and his wife were Ivy League school graduates. He's got a Harvard law degree. He comes from great stock in the community of Chicago. How do you reconcile and explain to people that that's part of the plan?
Well, first of all, Bill Ayers' father, Thomas Ayers, is the one that got Bernadine Dorn a job at Sidley Austin. Because of her criminal background, she couldn't get a job at a law firm, so she was there as some kind of researcher at Sidley Austin, and that's because Sidley Austin was a big client. Thomas Ayers, Commonwealth Edison, that he headed. He was the CEO, Bill Ayers' father.
Mm-hmm.
The law firm represented them, so he got Bernadine Dorn a job there, where Michelle Robinson, who later became Michelle Obama, was working. Then Thomas Ayers, Bill Ayers' father, got Obama a summer internship at Sidley Austin, and that's where Bernadine Dorn probably was the matchmaker there that hooked them up. If you look at speeches of Bernadine Dorn and Michelle Obama, it's like the same person. We can see that Michelle Obama was probably indoctrinated by Bernadine Dorn, and this is something that they're always trying to indoctrinate people. The Marxist groups, people like Ayers and Dorn. Then that whole group came together there, and there's a whole different history. There's just an alternate history. For example, Vernon Jarrett is Valerie Jarrett's father-in-law, was a colleague of Frank Marshall Davis, Obama's father, at the Chicago Star and communist newspapers. So There was a whole Arab network of funding that actually funded Obama's education, and then he was handed off to a network of Arab political funders in Tony Rezko. So there's a whole alternate history, and I think I showed that in my film.
Yeah, I think you do very well. Hold tight. We're coming up on commercial. We'll be right back with Joel Gilbert, director filmmaker, Dreams from My Real Father. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We'll be right back.
At survivalfoodguys.com, it's not about scaring you into doing what you know you need to do. It's not about creating a bunch of hype around the issues of the day. We understand you're intelligent and that you get what's going on, that you know preparing is the right thing to do. The question is who you want to do business with. The guy whose food tastes so bad that he has to beg you to buy it and offer huge discounts to get you to take it? The guy who tells you it tastes good, but when you get it, it doesn't really taste good? How about buying really good food that actually tastes good? You can get real meat if you want. You can get actual organic, USDA organic food if you want. SurvivalFoodGuys.com has what you need at the right price. It's a fair price, and it's a good deal. Go to Survival Food Guys right now. That's SurvivalFoodGuys.com on the web, or call 888-683-5507. SurvivalFoodGuys.com.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Are you struggling to reclaim your health? Let me share my story quick. My nightmare of chronic fatigue, PTSD, and autoimmune issues cost me everything. A bankruptcy, loss of home, even my wife walked out on me with no hope in sight. A miracle happened after hitting my lowest point. I discovered ion and RNA drops. It literally saved my life. I want to share my story with you and offer you a trial-size mini bottle of RNA drops. Visit www.rnafreemini.com. Again, that's www.rnafreemini.com. It's time to take your power back now. You can also check out our ad online at rents.com. RNA Drops.
Speaking with Joel Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert is the filmmaker of Dreams from My Real Father. And Joel, that intro music from this commercial break was a song that was actually written to memorialize Andrew Breitbart. And I cannot imagine that if Andrew was here today, that you would have a louder or more dedicated drum banger as far as getting this movie to as many viewers as possible. Have you had any assistance from the Breitbart people?
Well, I did know Andrew and told him about the film, a couple of weeks prior to when he passed away when I saw him at CPAC, and he was very interested. We did then give the film to the folks that run Breitbart, and they indicated they were afraid of it. They were afraid to cover the material, and I thought that was not a particularly good memorial to Andrew Breitbart and the spirit of truth and honesty that he brought to the table and what he did for the country. I've had other problems with so-called conservative media outlets like Newsmax.com. I'm a longtime advertiser with Newsmax.com. I had my other films on Newsmax advertised, and I entered a contract with them back in April and paid them in advance for a banner and email advertising campaign to their subscribers, and they pulled it right 5 minutes before it was supposed to go on the air. And I said, why? They said, well, we have the conservative audience. We're trying to appeal now to the middle audience. We want to get the middle, and we don't want this film because it might make people think we're conservative. So that was very disappointing. This has been the problem, is Andrew Breitbart represented a spirit of truth and bringing information to the public that apparently Breitbart did not carry on that spirit according to what he would have wanted, because they indicated to me they were afraid of covering the material in the film.
Well, I will tell you that for someone else who also knew Andrew, I will agree with you. Since Andrew's passing, Breitbart.com has definitely dropped the ball as far as living up to Andrew's legacy, unfortunately. And those things happen. And all I can tell you on the Newsmax thing is you should have contacted us. No, just joking. But it is sad, because you know what? You do have some so-called conservative media, conservative new media, conservative bloggers who simply will not touch things, or who will actually go out of their way to distance themselves from some people simply because they don't feel like they meet their standards. And I keep telling people day after day after day, as long as the person's telling the truth and putting something out there, you shouldn't be so quick to dismiss them, because this is why the liberal media and the Obama campaign continues to win this argument. Because when it comes to getting messaging out there, they are much more together and work much better as a group than the conservative side does at this point.
Well, some of the conservative media I've talked to is also intimidated or afraid of the leftist media. They've told me, we don't want the scoop to cover this material about Frank Marshall Davis, that Obama lied about who his father was. They say that if somebody else covers it, they'll cover them covering it. It's like that's the state of journalism today. But even, people looked at people like Fox News. They've rejected advertising that we've submitted. And it's a complete collapse of the media and journalism. That's why we have the free press in this country. The idea was it would serve as a counterbalance to power of politicians. But they've decided as a group to endorse one political party for the most part. So I think it is a dangerous time, and I'm hoping that people will pay attention to my film and look at the information and demand of Obama to tell the truth about his real background, his real Marxist foundation, and where he wants to take the country, instead of these vague things like change and fair play and helping the middle class. These are just meaningless slogans. There's a reality behind it that is much, much different than people are aware of. And I think my film, Dreams from My Real Father, shows that Obama's been pursuing the Marxist dreams from his real father, Frank Marshall Davis, that he brought with him to the White House.
Isn't it ironic that the media and even the conservative media have refused to accept ads or report in reference to your film, and yet for the last, 3 weeks, nobody can get people to shut up about some obscure YouTube video that's been online since July 2nd, that no one even heard about until the administration tried to blame it for its own lack of action in Libya and in Egypt?
Yeah, it's shocking. I'll tell you a quick story. Is I tried to run a full-page ad in the Washington Post, USA Today, and New York Times USA Today, $90,000 full-page ad. And the ad simply was a advertisement for my film, which is #1 documentary commercial product on Amazon for 3 or 4 weeks. And all 3 of these newspapers rejected the full-page ad. They just said it wasn't for them and various excuses. New York Post did run the ad, thankfully, a few weeks ago. And ironically, on that same day, Washington Post and USA Today ran a full-page ad from Larry Flynt, the pornographer. Said Larry Flynt and Hustler magazine are offering $1 million for anyone to access the private bank accounts or tax returns of Mitt Romney. So they essentially offering the public, letting Larry Flynt put a contract out on a presidential candidate's private information, probably would be the commission of a crime.
I was just fixing to say soliciting a criminal act.
Soliciting a criminal act for $1 million, that was acceptable advertising for these papers. But advertising a DVD that's on Amazon was unacceptable. So I hope the Secret Service looked into that, and if I was a shareholder of USA Today or the Washington Post, I would certainly be concerned that they refused money from a legitimate product while taking money from a known pornographer to possibly commit a crime and what the liability would be. So that's the sad state of affairs when it comes to so-called media and journalists. They're completely irrelevant and capitulated to an agenda that is not public trustees. That's their job, is to be public trustees, to be unbiased, and to have a responsibility to the public. And they have abdicated that responsibility to become irrelevant. That's why Newsweek is out of business. Their print magazine out of business. They refused to report on the Lewinsky affair with President Clinton. Drudge did report on it, and Drudge is #1 and Newsweek out of business. So this is going to be the trend. As long as the media have nothing to say and nothing to report other than being advocates for the Democrats, I think they'll all become irrelevant and go out of business.
I think Pat Caddell and Doug Schoen has made perfectly clear that when it comes to the free press doing its job, that is a thing of the past, especially when it comes to political elections in this country. Joel, we're coming up on the end of the hour. One, I want to thank you for joining us. I will be in touch with... Well, actually, I'll be in touch with Sandy if you want to look at your schedule for, say, the week of October 22nd. I'd like to have you back on.
I'd love to come on again. Maybe you can take some calls because our 1.5 million DVDs will have arrived all over the state of Florida by then. Maybe we can speak to some of your listeners.
And we can actually do that, and I will send Sandy an email to get a confirmed schedule on that. I would suggest, and this is just out of personal experience, you said that you're starting to send out DVDs to Florida. I will tell you one thing I have learned about being in Central Florida. You give someone a movie, you have all of these communities that have clubhouses to where the entire community can take one DVD and go sit in the clubhouse and have movie night. And you'd be surprised the number of people in these communities that you can reach.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I look forward to coming back on the air. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Joel.
All right, bye-bye.
And listeners, if you will, please go to obamasrealfather.com. If you haven't seen the video, buy it. I'm serious. If you want to see something that does not mince words, it is meticulously put together. It takes you step by step by step. And it definitely makes an argument. And the one thing I forgot to tell Joel before he hung up, and this is my fault because it just totally slipped my mind because I wanted to get him scheduled to come back on. Joel's argument in this video could be proven beyond a reasonable doubt even quicker if Barack Obama would submit to a DNA test. Because a DNA test would be all it would take to say yes or no, Frank Marshall Davis is or is not his real father. And I think Joel's made it perfectly clear. For several years now, people have been asking the wrong question. It's not where's the birth certificate. It may indeed be who's the real father. And Joel can get resolve. He can get a conclusive answer to that question if only Barack Obama would submit to a DNA test. I think we should start a campaign and a petition calling for Barack Obama to agree to submit to a DNA test to determine once and for all who his real father truly is. What do you say? Thanks for joining me for this special hour of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rinse Radio Network. Stay tuned for the second hour. Kevin Dujon continues to fill in for me with Carolyn Blaschek from Operation Gratitude. I will see you in about a week. Good night.
While the pregnancy was chilling in his lazy chair, still collecting welfare. Bitching about her life ain't fair.
Are you a contender?
Hell yeah.
Or just a pretender? You gotta be the man. Stand up and defender.
Check it out, I was kicking back, watching the flat screen, surfing through the channel, political pundits, all I see propaganda or integrity. Who's gonna win this? Come on, raise your rhythm, man, or Ben on miss. It was a left, took integrity, got hit in the jaw. From the shot, heard around the world he never saw. Coming from a shout, looks like I picked another bloody loser. Betting all the media will do that to ya.
Are you a contender?
Hell yeah.
Or just a pretender? You gotta be the man. Stand up and defender.
Here we go.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rinse.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rinse.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Rentz. Royal Raymond Rife was without question the most gifted medical scientific genius of our age. He discovered that most disease-related microbes die quickly when exposed to their own specialized resonant radio frequencies. The BCX 411 Rife-type frequency instrument has received the highest praise on several continents for its precision, simplicity of operation, and successful research experiment. The BCX, with its comprehensive manual, allows you to select the frequencies you wish to experiment with for the length of time you want to run them. The BCX handheld plasma ray tubes and RF radio carrier